Hi everybody, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday with me, Laura, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make and design your own fingerless mitten or wrist warmer gloves. Okay. Okay, so in this video we're going to be making the other one of this glove that you see here. Each one is exactly the same, but what I'm going to be doing that's slightly different is showing you how to adapt it for this pattern, adapt this pattern for your own size that you want. So, because obviously everyone's going to have all manner of different size hands and wrists and so on and so forth. So, but for this pattern, I'm also going to be using 3 different colours, so add a little bit of stripy fun. And so I'm going to be using this looks a bit blue on camera, but this is actually a purple, and I'm going to use a nice pink colour and a kind of something in between. So nice little set of colours. And with this yarn's actually a DK light worsted weight yarn. That's a yarn weight of 3, and with that I'm going to be using a 3.5mm E4 crochet hook. Now, but you can use any yarn that you like and any hook size that is suitable for the yarn that you're using for this pattern. So. And also we're going to need a pair of scissors, and also going to need a yarn tapestry needle as well. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to start off with the in-between sort of mauvey colour, and we're going to create this knitted effect that we've got here. I've actually done a video on this in more detail as well. So, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to work in rows to begin. And then when we get to the stripy bit, we're going to be working the rounds. So this is actually crocheted backwards and forwards in this direction. And we're going to repeat the pattern until we have a nice fit around the wrist area. But you can either follow the pattern exactly or adapt it for yourself. But what I'm going to do is, to start off with, I'm going to chain 16, and that gets the length of your cuff. Okay, so this is the length of your cuff that we're going to do first. And I'm going to chain 16. So I'll do my little slip knot. Okay, so I'm going to chain 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So I've chained 16, and that's going to be the length of my cuff. So that's going to be the distance that I want the length of my cuff to be. Okay, so, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 1 half double crochet. So this pattern's in US terminology, half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, and we're going to do that half double crochet in our second chain from hook. Now, we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first one, there's our second. So I'm going to put our hook in that second stitch, second chain, and do a half double crochet. Pull through all 3. And I'm going to do 1 half double crochet into each chain back to the beginning. So I end up with a stitch count of 15. Okay, so I'm going to go into the next stitch, the next chain. And it doesn't matter how you work into your chains, it's just your own personal preference. I like to just go under that one bit of yarn. It's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to do 1 half double crochet into each chain back to the start. Okay, just 1 half double crochet in each chain. Okay, yarn over, pull through all 3 until we end up the stitch count of 15. Okay, so just nearly back at the beginning, still doing 1 half double crochet into each chain. So we end up with a stitch count of 15, or however many that you have for the length of your wrist parts. Okay, so it should look a little something like that, and that should be the length that you want your wrist part to be, if that makes sense. I can't show you, I haven't got enough hands. But then what we're going to do is we're going to create this sort of knit pattern effect here, and we do that by just crocheting into a different part of the stitch. But what we're going to do at each end is we're going to chain one, and we're going to have that as a turning stitch. So we're not going to count that as a stitch. It's going to be a turning stitch. Then we're going to turn our work and crochet in the opposite direction. And what we're going to do is, instead of, first of all, we're going to yarn over because we're still doing half double crochets. But normally we would go into the stitch like this. We would go under those top two pieces of little loops of yarn there. But as you can see, there's actually a third little loop on the side. You've effectively got three. You've got one little loop there, horizontal, and then you've got 2 and 3 on the top. And normally we go under 2 and 3, like so, when we work into the stitch. But what we're going to do is we're going to work onto that first loop. It's what I'm going to call the side loop. So we're actually going to go under this little side loop instead, and we're completely ignoring those top 2 loops at the top. And we're going to do our half double crochet into there. So we're going to bring our yarn through that little side loop, then yarn over, pull through all 3, do our half double crochet. I'm going to do that all the way across for this row. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and go under that next side loop, like so. And as you can see, there's our normal stitch at the top. Okay, we're going to do our half double crochet under there, our next one under there. Okay, and we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each side loop all the way across. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and go onto that next side loop, just that one little loop on the side there. You don't actually see it on the other side. We turn it over. You don't actually have one on this side really. Just got those top 2 little V shapes there that face the points on the left hand side, and then at the side you've got the point of the V on the right hand side. So hopefully you can find the right bit to go under on the side there. And we'll do 1 half double crochet in each side loop across. You can of course just do normal half double crochets as normal, or whatever stitch you like. It really doesn't matter. You don't have to follow the same pattern as me. I just tried to make it a little bit more interesting. Sorry, my yarn went a bit stringy then, my yarn. So I'm doing 1 half double crochet. Just keeps happening. Stop happening. 1 half double crochet in each little side loop all the way across. Okay, making sure to leave those top stitches there completely alone. Okay, we're ignoring those top stitches. And you should still have a stitch count of 15. So 2, 4, 6, 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. Going under each side loop. 13. 14, and don't miss that last one, 15. Okay, so if you're struggling to find the last one, just find the top 2 loops first, 1 and 2, and then that next one is going to be there. Okay, 15. So make sure you've got a stitch count of 15, don't miss that last stitch. And as you can see, when we turn over to the other side, that has pushed those little V's that we've completely ignored, the normal stitch you work under, it's pushed it to the front to create a little knitted effect. So what we're going to do on the next round, so that's the first unusual round. For the next round, we're going to chain 1 again, don't count that as a stitch, and turn. But this time we're not going to work into that side loop. We are going to work into one of these top 2 as normal. So yarn over, we're still doing half double crochets. Normally, as you know, when you work into a normal stitch, we go under 2 bits of yarn there. We're going to ignore the side loop, but we're also going to ignore the front loop here, and we're actually going to go under the back loop. Okay, just under that back loop only, and do a half double crochet. Okay, and that leaves the side loop free, and it leaves that first loop free as well. So we're going in the very, very third loop right at the back. So yarn over again, so we ignore the side loop, we ignore that next loop and find that one right at the back there, and we're going under that back loop only. Pull the yarn through and do a half double crochet, pull through all three. And what that does, it's now pushing those little V's to the front, and they're the same direction as our previous little V's. And what we do is we just repeat that all the way across, going into that back loop only, and do a half double crochet. Repeat that all the way across, just doing one half double crochet into that back loop, that third loop right at the back. So ignore the side loop, ignore that second loop, find that back one, right, the last one, do your half double crochet under there. Okay, we'll do that all the way across until we've still got a stitch count of 15. 10, 11. I counted these right. Let's try and count from the beginning again, make sure that we've got them all. Oh, there's our first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've actually got 14. And the last one, don't miss that last one again. Ignore the side loop, ignore that next loop, find that one at the back. 15. Okay, so this time on that row we did, oops, going under too many there. We did one half double crochet in the back loop, and that's pushed the row of V's to the front like so. And it's basically, we're going to just repeat those two rows over and over again until we've got the length of wrist that we're happy with. So for the next row we would chain one and turn, and we want to work into the side loop instead. So find that for a side loop, just go into that little side loop only, that first loop, and do one half double crochet in the side loop. Then that pushes those V's to the other side. So all your V's end up facing, there you go, see they're being pushed toward, they face the same direction. So we're going to alternate rows between doing one half double crochet in each side loop across. Then on the next row we alternate and do one half double crochet in the back loop only. And keep repeating those two rows until you're happy with the length of your wrist part. So, and it doesn't matter what row you end on, as long as it's a nice comfortable fit to go around your wrist. And I did, how many rows did I did? So I went up to, I don't actually know, I think I did 12 rows, I think, of each two, so that's what, 24. I think I did 24 rows in total, including that first row of just plain half double crochets. I did about 24 rows, but really just keep going, repeating those two rows, or working a stitch that you like, until you're happy with the fit, the comfort of your wrist parts. So I've just doing one half double crochet in each side loop across for this row, and then my next row I'll be doing one half double crochet in each back loop only. Don't forget that last one. And don't forget at the end of each row we just chain one, don't count that as a stitch, and turn. So for this row I would do one half double crochet in the back loop. So there's the side loop, ignore that. There's the next loop, find that back loop and just do your half double crochet under that back loop. As you can see, that pushes the stitching, the V's to the front, and you end up with this nice knitted effect. So just repeat that until it fits around your wrist, back to the beginning, in nice comfortable fit. And like I said, I did about 24 rows in total, including that first plain row. It's entirely up to you. Do what fits comfortable for you. So I'm going to do that, and then I shall come back and show you what to do next in your fingerless mitten design pattern. Okay. I'll just say as well, as I'm just working my rows, don't worry about if it curls up like this, because that will completely sort itself out when we finish the cuff part. Okay, so just keep working your rows until you're happy. Okay, so I'm happy with how many rows I've done. I've actually done 25 rows in total, including that first plain row of half double crochet. But basically you just want to repeat as many rows as you need until it fits around your wrist. So I'm quite happy with the, I don't have enough hands to do this. I'm quite happy with the length of that. And what we're going to do now is basically just single crochet this closed, and we're going to single crochet it closed up to the top or the edge. So what we're going to do is, let's just put our hook back in. It doesn't matter what row you end on, it really doesn't matter, so don't worry. We're just going to chain one and turn. Then you need to get the other end. Make sure you've got the right side on the outside facing. We're just going to put our hook through one of our little beginning chains. We should have 15 stitches to begin. So if you can remember how many chains you did at the beginning, that will help. So I'm just going to pop my hook into that first chain that we did. That's why it helps to only go under one loop when you work under your chains for the first time, because it helps it easier to see the chains again. So I'm going to pop our hook into the other side of that. Then I'm going to go into, well, we don't want to go in our little chain one, do we? So there's our first stitch there. Our hook into the stitch as normal, so we're just going into the stitch as normal under those two loops, and then we are going to do a slip stitch. This is all going to tail end getting in the way. So bring the yarn through both stitches, so from that side to this side, joining, and then put it straight through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. I'm going to do that all the way across. So we're going to go into the next chain, then find the corresponding stitch on the opposite side, then come through both and straight for the loop on your hook. So we're just slip stitching the cuff closed, and then we're going to test it out. So just repeat this all the way across, joining each end together. Okay, so just going up to the other end, stitch number 14, joining up the other side, 14, and the last one. See the last one, 15, the last stitch, slightly on its side, 15. Okay, so there we go, we joined both ends together, but we're not going to fasten off just yet. What you want to do at this point is just check that you're happy with the, obviously it's going to be a bit tight over this part. You need to make sure it's a nice comfy fit around the wrist and you're happy with your cuff part. And this is actually a really nice finish to add to jumpers as well, the other way around. But what we're going to do now is we are going to work some stitches neatly around this top edge. And what I do is I work to double the amount of rows that we did. So I have done 25 rows on the cuff. So I'm going to work double that, 50 single crochet stitches neatly around the edge, top edge. So we're going to start off with just doing a little chain one, just to neaten that off. And then as best as you can, as neatly as you can, try and work into bits of yarn at the top as neatly as you can and try and do it evenly. Now what I do is I actually sort of divide up the rows into sort of two. So I would do like, let's start off putting a hook into there. I'm just going to do a little single crochet. Okay, just one. Then I would do a single crochet in between the little V's. So just as neatly as you can, going into wherever works well, two, and then I'll do a single crochet into the actual V. So work one single crochet neatly around the top edge, double the amount of how many rows you've done. So I've done 25 rows, so I'm going to do 50 single crochet stitches and try and divide it up equally by using the same method as me. So I'm going to do a single crochet in between the V's, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in that little V. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end. I'm at 47. Let's do one in there. 48. Then let's just fit in the last two. 49. I'm just going to squeeze another one just in there somewhere. Maybe on this bit here. 50. So you should end up by naturally dividing up each row into two, one stitch in between the V's and then one actually in the V. You should be doubling up your row count from, I did 25 rows, so I've ended up with 50 single crochet stitches neatly around the edge, and just work into the yarn as neatly as you can. Then back at the beginning, find your first single crochet, put our hook into there, and we are going to get our, not going to yarn over with this colour, we're going to introduce our next colour. So in this case it's the dark purple. It looks a bit blue on camera, but we're going to get our dark purple and slip stitch with this. So instead of yarning over with the purple, we're just going to yarn over with the dark purple, hold that in place, bring that through your first single crochet and straight through the loop on your hook. We're going to secure that with a little chain one, which we're not going to count as a stitch. And you can just pull that nice and tight. Okay, but we're not going to cut off the lighter purple. We're just going to leave it there because we're going to bring it up to reuse it for these rounds here. Okay, so then what we're going to do, we are literally going to do it's a little bit of shaping, and we are going to do one double crochet. So we're working double crochets now. We're going to do a double crochet into the same stitch we just slip stitched into. So we're going to yarn over, go back into that first single crochet you just slip stitched into, and do a double crochet, just one double crochet, like so. And then what we're going to do, we're going to double crochet 2 stitches together. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, as if doing a normal double crochet, but we're going to stop before we finish. We're going to yarn over again and go into the next stitch and bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. It's the same as before. You end up with 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that double crochet is 2 stitches together. We're going to repeat that all the way round until the last 2 stitches. Okay, so we are going to repeat that and yarn over. In the next stitch, we're just going to do 1 double crochet. Get my brain in gear. Just do 1 double crochet in the next stitch by itself, and then we double crochet the next 2 together. So go into the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, stop, yarn over, always remember to yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 to double crochet 2 together. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around until the last 2 stitches. So we're just going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch, then double crochet 2 together. Back to the beginning. Okay, then back to 1 double crochet and double crochet 2 together. Just repeat that back to the last 2. You should end up with 2 stitches. I suppose it depends on your stitch count, but if you just carry on until you're roughly back at the beginning, and then we'll try and help you figure out what to do next if your pattern's different. Okay, then 1 double crochet, Stitch count is not imperative to this pattern. It's all about just making it fit that's comfortable for you. Okay, then 1 double crochet, so on and so forth. Okay, then double crochet 2 together. Okay, so I'm nearing the beginning, and I think I can fit in one more little set of just doing 1 double crochet, the next stitch and double crochet 2 together. So this takes me up to the last 2 stitches, and I've run out of room to do any more double crochet 2s together. If you happen to have 3 stitches left, then and you can fit in another set of 1 double crochet and double crochet 2 together, then go for it and end on a double crochet 2 together. If like me you've only got 2 stitches left, we are just going to do 1 double crochet in each of those. So do 1 double crochet in there and 1 double crochet in there. It really doesn't matter if your stitch count isn't perfect, it really doesn't matter. So if you can fit in another decrease, great, and if you can't, just fill up with a couple of double crochets in, just 1 double crochet in each last stitch. Then find your first stitch that you did, which is there. So the first proper stitch, skip your chain 1. Find that first proper stitch, bring the yarn through there, straight for the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch to join the round. Okay, and then at this point, if you can, just check the fit. I've got a stitch count now of 33. It's gone down to 33. Okay, so it should look a little something like that. It should be quite comfortable. Okay, so that's sort of the most complicated rounds. It gets a little bit simpler from now on. And what we're going to do is we are just going to do a round of simple, oh no, I just undid it. Oh, it's fatal error of pulling the wrong tail end. Okay, that's just, this is what happens when you try and crochet on camera. Okay, so slip stitch to finish. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we are just going to do a little chain 1 in the same colour, little chain 1 again, don't count that as a stitch. And we're going to do 1 double crochet in the same stitch we just slip stitched into. So we're going to go back into there, do 1 double crochet. I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch around. Okay, so we're keeping a stitch count of 33, and I'm not carrying this colour, that just is constantly staying at the beginning. So you don't need to carry any yarn colours or anything. So do 1 double crochet in each stitch around, working into the stitch as normal for this round. I say that because we actually do something slightly different when we join a new colour. So I'm just doing 1 double crochet into each top stitch, each normal stitch around. Okay, just going onto both bits of yarn, keeping a stitch count of 33 or however many stitches you have. Back to the beginning. Okay, so just coming up to the last couple of stitches. So I've just worked 1 double crochet into each stitch around, back to the beginning, keeping stitch count of 33 or however many stitches you've got. Then what we're going to do is we're going to skip our little tiny chain 1. You want to find that first proper stitch and put your hook into there. But instead of yarning over with this darker purple, can't speak properly, instead of yarning over with this colour, we're going to bring back our first colour that we did the cuff in. So we're just going to, that's just been sat down there at the beginning, and I'm just going to hook that through that first stitch and then straight through the loop on your hook. Just pull that down, don't put it too tight because you don't want it to distort, and then just pull your purple tail end to bring that in, and you can secure that with a chain 1, keep that in place. Okay, and then we're working with our sort of mauvey colour again, but this time what I've done, you can just work into the top stitch as normal for this next round, but I've actually done something different. Instead of working into the top stitch, I've actually worked into the space in between the double crochets. So you can either follow me or just work your own stitch design. You can just go into the top stitch as normal, but we're going to work it into the first double crochet we just slip stitched into. So you could either go into the top stitch as normal, or we can go into the space, which is actually quite hard to see on this one. I'll show you on the next one. You can actually go into the space in between the double crochets, this space here. So you can either go into the stitch at the top, or you can go into the gap under here. But for this first one, a little bit difficult to see. Let's refocus this. Okay, so this first one, we are just going to find that tiny little space down there, put our hook there, and we're going to do a double crochet like so, and that just lowers the stitch down over that top stitch to the gap, creating just a slightly different effect. And I'm going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch around, or into each gap around. So you can either go into the stitch or the gap. I'm going to go into the gap, do a double crochet, do 1 double crochet in each one. I'm going to do that all the way around, keeping a stitch count of 33 still. Okay, that's what I'm going to do every time I join a new colour. That's how I'm going to do it, like so. Okay, so I'm back at the beginning, and we want to end on this little, if you're working into the gaps, you want to end on this gap here. It sort of looks like there's a little gap around there, but we don't put a stitches there. So if you imagine that would be our last stitch there, so that's going to be our last gap there. So you should have just double check you've got the right stitch count, and then once you get back to there, we're going to skip our chain 1 and slip stitch into that first proper double crochet stitch, like so. And I'm going to do 2 rounds in each colour. And but when I do the second round of the colour, I'm working into the stitch as normal. So on here you can see I've worked into the gap when I've joined a new colour, but for the second round I've gone into the stitch as normal, not the gap. Okay, so for the next round, going to chain 1, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the same stitch we just slip stitched into, and I'm going into the stitch this time. Do a double crochet, not a half double crochet, double crochet, and I'll do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So I'm going into the stitch as normal now, keeping a stitch count of 33. If you're wondering why I doubled up the single crochets here only to decrease down with the double crochets, it's because if I just did 1 single crochet into each round on the cuff, the single crochets can be a little bit tight, so it would be a little bit uncomfortable. So what I've done extra single crochets and then decrease back down, and it creates a softer finish. So, and that same doubling up and decreasing, it could apply to any design you've done on the cuff, so the principle is the same. Just have an experiment, see how you get on if you're experimenting with different patterns. But yeah, I'm going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around this time, keeping a stitch count of 33 or however many stitches you've got. Back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last stitch, and then all we do is we slip stitch into our first stitch. So skip your chain 1, slip stitch into that first stitch. And what I'm going to do now is just check that this is, this is going to be the same as my other glove, and I know my other glove is comfortable, but if you're making this for the first time, you could use this opportunity just to double check that the fit is comfortable. And we're working for the seam to be in the center of the palm. I'm going to do that for both hands. If you're finding it's a little bit tight around this part, you can add, instead of doing just 1 double crochet in the stitch, you could have 2 double crochet to do a little increase, and you could do that there on this side and 1 this side, so it equals it out, rather than doing some there and then just doing normal double crochets. You'd end up with sort of weird slight distortion of increases here. So if you spread your increases out, if you want to add increases, do them either side, making sure the seam's in the middle of the palm. But this is a comfy fit for me, and it should be for, if you've been following the same similar system, it should be for most hands, hopefully. And then what we're going to do is we're going to introduce our new colour, and I've just slip stitched with the old colour, so I shouldn't have done that. So we're going to get our last colour, and I've got a lighter pink. So let's just undo. So I'm just going to undo that slip stitch because I shouldn't have slip stitched with that colour. Put a hook back in there. Okay, so instead of yarning over with the purple, put a hook into that first stitch. Instead of yarning over with the mauve, we're actually going to yarn over with our new colour, which has just fallen on the floor in a big heap. Oh, there we go. So this is our new pink. I'm going to yarn over with the new colour, bring that through that first stitch and straight through the loop on a hook, secure with chain 1, and don't count that as a stitch, you can pull that nice and tight. Pull your mauve just to bring that in. And now we're working with our lighter pink. And because it's a new colour, I'm going to work into the spaces instead of the stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, find that first little space in between there, that double crochet, and do another double crochet. I'm going to work 1 double crochet into each space around this time, keeping a stitch count of 33. It's the gap. Just 1 double crochet in each stitch around. Okay, so I've just done 1 double crochet in each space around because it's a new colour. I'm coming up to the last space here, and you know it's the last space because we know that would have been our last stitch. So don't add an extra one in here. Be careful not to do that, and double check your stitch count as you go. Then what we're going to do is skip our chain 1 and we're going to slip stitch into our first stitch to join the round. Then I'm going to do another round, just a plain round, chain 1 at the beginning, do 1 double crochet in the same stitch this time, it's a normal stitch as the one you slip stitched into. And we're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch around this time. Okay, so working into the top stitch as normal. Do 1 double crochet in each one around, keeping a stitch count of 33 or however many stitches you've got for your design. Back to the beginning. Okay, so just coming back to the beginning. Done 1 double crochet into each stitch around for this second round. Skip chain 1 and we're going to put our hook into that first stitch, but instead of yarning over with the pink, we're actually going to bring back our dark purple, and they're all sat here waiting on the inside. So I'm just going to drop the lighter pink and just bring up the colour I want to work with, which is this dark pink, and keeping it just the right length. You don't want to put it too tight because it will distort the glove, but I'm going to bring that yarn over with that colour, bring that through the stitch, straight through the loop on your hook, put it tight but make sure it's not distorting the glove, and secure with a chain 1. Then we're just going to pull our lighter pink tail end to bring that in. Now we're working with our dark purple, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this, doing 1 double crochet in each stitch around. We're going to repeat that for another 6 rows. So as you can see here, I've done 2 more in the dark purple and 2 more in the light purple, and 2 more rounds in the light pink as well. And every time I've joined a new colour, I've worked into the space there, but on the second round of the same colour I've worked into the stitch. So work 6 more rounds up to, if you try it on, I've done 6 more rounds, but you basically want it to just come just over your thumb knuckle joint there, just over. So, and that for me was another 6 rounds. So I did 3 more of each, did 1 more of each colour. So dark purple, light purple, pink, dark purple, light purple, pink, up to there. Okay, so just do that, keeping the same stitch count. For me that's 33. And when you join a new colour like I have here, make sure, if you want to follow my pattern, make sure to work it into the little spaces. Careful not to miss that first one, which is quite small, instead of the stitches. But on the second round of the same colour, work it into the stitches, not the spaces. Just keeping the stitch count the same. That's the important thing, keep stitch count the same, unless you are adding increases either side to adjust the size, but you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to just keep the stitch count the same. Okay, so I'm going to do that for 6 more rounds. doing one more round, one more in the dark purple, one more in the lighter purple, one more in the pink, and then I shall come back. Okay, just doing one double crochet in each stitch around, or each space around for this one, then I'll do each stitch around. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end of my 6th round, and I've been alternating colours again, and I've been alternating between working in the space or the stitch, which I am here. So when I get to the end, we just slip stitch into the first stitch, but I'm going to rejoin the dark purple because that's the next colour I want to work with. So let's just bring up this dark purple, bring that through the stitch, the loop on the hook, secure the chain 1 and pull my pink. Okay, so now we're working with the purple. Okay, so this is what we look like. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 rounds of just one double crochet in either the stitch or the space around, keeping a stitch count of 33 or however many stitches you've got. It should look like this, and that should come up to about here on your thumb. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work the thumb hole. And the thumb hole is just created by skipping some stitches. There, you see we've just literally skipped the stitches. But the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to work this little round of slip stitches first. So what we're going to do is we want to work out where our thumb hole is going to be. So this is the seam, so this is the beginning and the end of each round. Now this is for the left hand. Okay, so this one here is for the left hand. You want the seam to be on the inside, so we've got a nice front here. And to keep the seam on the inside, what we've done here is we've started the thumb gap after the 5th stitch. So what we're doing here is, if you can just about see, we're doing one single crochet in the first 5, and then we've started our thumb piece. Okay, so that's for the left hand. For the right hand, we want to do the opposite. We want to do one single crochet all the way around, and we want to leave 5 there. So we're going to, I'll just work out the maths. Okay, so I just worked out the maths. So we're going to work up to the last 18 stitches. So we're going to do one single crochet in the first 18 for the right hand, or the first 5 for the left hand. Okay, so 18 for the right, 5 for the left. So this is going to be for the right hand, so I'm going to do one single crochet in the first 18 stitches. So starting off in the same stitch we just slip stitched into, I'm going into the stitch as normal. We'll do one single crochet in the first 18. So that's 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, next stitch 5. So if this was the left hand, one for the left hand, we would do one single crochet in the first 5, okay? But as it's for the right hand, we're doing one single crochet in the first 18. So that's 5, next stitch 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, so I've done one single crochet in the first 18 for the right hand, but you also need to work out how many stitches you want to skip for your actual thumb. Now I'm skipping 10. Okay, there's 10 stitches around here, so I'm skipping 10. You may want to have more room, you may want to create a bigger hole, but 10 I think should be okay, because if you want to make this wider, this part wider, you can add more stitches here. We don't need to worry about that at the moment. So I think 10 should be okay for most thumb sizes, unless you've got quite a large thumb or quite a small thumb, you might want to do less or more, but try with 10 first, see how you get on. So what we're going to do, once we've got up to either 18 or 5, we're going to do 1 slip stitch in the next 10, okay, which is going to be our actual thumb piece. So in the next stitch we do a slip stitch in the next 10. So 1, 2, 3, and try not to pull too tight, keep it quite loose. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Try and work to even numbers so it's easier for your maths. So that's going to be our thumb piece for our right hand, and also it's going to be the same 10 slip stitches for the left hand for both hands. Okay, so we've done 1 slip stitch in the next 10. Okay, and once you've done that, that should leave you with 5 stitches. After that, you'll either have 18 stitches left or you'll have 5 stitches left, depending on which hand you're doing. So basically all you need to do is just to make sure that this seam is on the inside of your hand. Okay, so then we're just going to do 1 single crochet in the remaining stitches back to the beginning. Then we're just going to slip stitch to join, in that first single crochet, do a slip stitch to join. Okay, and then what you want to do is just try that on the size on the hand that you're making it for, and you want to check where those slip stitches are. So my slip stitches are there, okay, and the seam has ended up, that's okay, the seam's about there, so I'm going to go with that. You may wish to make the seam further in the middle and have less stitches at the end. Just try and make it as neat as you like, really doesn't matter. So okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a chain 1, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around up to our first slip stitch. Okay, so we did 1 single crochet in the first 18 on the right hand, so we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 18 again. If you were doing the left hand, you would do 1 single crochet in the first 5, and again you would do 1 single crochet in the first 5, and then we're going to start skipping. Not literally skipping, we don't want to skip around the house unless you're really happy that your glove's going so well. So starting off in the first, the same stitch, just slip stitched into, going to do 1 single crochet in the first 18 again. So however many you did single crochets in the last round, you do the same again now. So 1, 2, 3, next stitch 4, 16, 17 and 18, which takes us up to our slip stitches, and this is where our thumb's going to go. So wherever you're going to put your thumb, we're going to skip the 10 stitches that we did. So these 10 slip stitches that we did has marked out our thumb space. We're going to skip those, but what we're going to do is we're going to chain some extra stitches, because if we just literally skipped over to the other side, that hole would be quite small, but if we add a few chains, it just gives us a little bit more space. So you may prefer to chain more or less depending on the width around this part now. So checking this width here. If you're making these for someone else, all you really need to do is measure their wrist size and this part here and maybe around the thumb area. But I chained 5 in between. You may prefer to chain less or more depending on how tight you want this to be. Okay, so I'm going to chain 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've chained 5. Then I'm going to skip my 10 slip stitches. Find those last 5, 2, 4, 5, and I'm going to put my hook into that 5th one from the end. So I've skipped my 10 slip stitches, then the last 5 single crochets, I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm going to do one single crochet to the end, keeping them quite loose, because single crochets can be a little bit tighter than double crochets. So one single crochet to the end. Okay, and then what we're going to do is going to find our first single crochet and slip stitch into there with the same colour, like so. So you've left a gap here. There's your 10 slip stitches with our 5 chains. That's going to be our thumb space. So you may want to try it on at this point to make sure that it's comfortable. If not, you can add more chains here or slip stitch more here, depending on how big you want this to be. You may want to, so the more you skip here, the bigger the space around the thumb. The more you chain here, the bigger it'll be around this part of the hand. I hope that makes sense. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to chain one, and we're going to do one double crochet in that first same stitch you just slip stitched into. Try not to miss that first one. So back to double crochets. I'm going to do one double crochet in each stitch around, keeping the same stitch count. So I'm going to do one double crochet in each stitch around up to those chains. I'm going to do one double crochet across the chains back to the beginning. I think my stitch count went down to 28, I think. 28. And when I actually worked these single crochets, I worked into the stitch as normal. I didn't go into the space, I just worked into the stitch as normal. So don't worry about that for the single crochets. And when we get up to here, back to our chains. So this is our last one here before our chains. And I know how many chains we've got. We've got 5 chains, so I'm going to work one double crochet into each of those 5 chains. Now, it doesn't matter how you work into them. You may want to work into them the same way you do at the beginning of a project, or you may prefer to go into them like a normal stitch, going under both bits of yarn. It's entirely up to you, but just make sure that the stitch count matches how many chains you've done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Going into it like a normal stitch can actually make it easier to see them when you have to go back to crocheting into normal stitches here. So our next stitch is actually going to be right on that little corner there. So make sure we don't miss that one on the corner. Should have 5 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that first proper stitch, but this time we're going to grab our slightly lighter purple here, bring that through straight through the loop on your hook, do a little chain 1 to secure, don't count that as a stitch, and then pull your other purple tight. And now we're working with this lighter purple, and what we're going to do, look at this glove here, we're going to do 4 more rounds of double crochets, just 1 double crochet into each stitch or space around, exactly the same as what you did here, but we're going to do 2 rows in this lighter purple, 2 rows in the pink. So I'm going to do that, then I'm going to come back, and you want to keep the same stitch count. So for me that will be 28. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I shall come back, but I'm going to, because it's a new colour, I'm going to start off with working into the gaps, making sure to get that first one down there. Okay, okay, so I'm back at the beginning. I've done 4 more rounds of just 1 double crochet in each stitch around, or space depending on what you want to do, and then I'm just going to slip stitch in my first proper stitch. And instead of yarning over with the pink, I'm just going to bring back the dark purple one more time. We'll do a slip stitch in the dark purple. Secure with a little chain 1. Pull that pink. You can fasten off your pink. I've already fastened off the middle purple. I've already fastened off with that. So I'm just working with the darker pink, darker purple, and we're just going to finish up by doing 1 slip stitch in each stitch around, just to create a nice edge that matches this one here. So do a little chain 1, and then starting in the same stitch you just slip stitched into, we are going to do a little slip stitch in each stitch around, keeping the same stitch count of 28 or however many stitches you've got. Okay, so 1 slip stitch in each stitch around. Keep them quite loose as well, don't pull them too tight. Back to the beginning. That's the last stitch. Just pull that tail end, that pink one tight. Then just slip stitch in your first slip stitch to join the round. And then we can fasten off our purple. Just pull the tail end through, and then we just need to tidy up our tail ends, put them on the inside. And you shouldn't have too many, so let's put that on the inside just to secure. If I turn my glove inside out, you should see that you shouldn't have too many tail ends because we've been carrying the yarn the whole time from up here. So we've just got the very first one where we've joined our new colour, and then the very end ones up here. And all that's left to do is to try on our gloves, and I'm hoping that the seam is fairly in the middle. We'll see. You can always adjust it if you want to. This is the right hand where we did the 18 stitches, and I'm happy with my thumb piece. It's not a little bit too tight around there, so I may go back and add some more chains. But there we go. The seam's just about on the back. You may prefer to do even less, leave less stitches here, actually do more than 18, maybe up to about 20, and just move that. All that'll do is just move this over, the seam over a little bit. But there we go, and I'll try on this glove, the opposite glove. The left hand where we did 5, so it's 18 here, 5 here. So we've got the seams on the inside just about, and there we go. Let's zoom out. There is our finished set of gloves, and I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you've managed to follow along, and I hope it's inspired you to try and design your own glove. Like I said, if you want to make this wider, this a little bit snug, you can add more chains here, and if you want to have a bigger thumb space, you can skip more stitches around there. But have a play and see how you get on, and I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.